Good evening. This is Jason here. I'm going to be trying out a different kind of situation here. So this year at work we did Secret Santas, and my Secret Santa, it was actually a really cool setup because we got ourselves on a list, and then the list picked who our Secret Santa was going to be, and we actually went in and you can go in and choose your own stuff that you want them to shop from, and then they go in there and shop for it. So I chose several fly tying things to choose from, and one of them was a kit that is for tying a certain kind of fly, and it gives you several pieces that you put together to make a fly. And so this one is I had not seen the packaging yet till she gave it to me. I'm going to go ahead and swap it around, and we'll take a look. So, I'm getting ready for my tying, but I'm going to set this up so I can show you the packaging. So, it came like this in the bag, Postfly. Oops. And when you take it out of the bag, they give you all the parts to make actually two different size flies. They give you some hooks for a smaller fly, a number 10, and for a larger fly, a number 6. And it shows you a picture, obviously, of the profile of the fly, and they actually give you a sample fly so you can know what you're tying. And this is a yellow sandwich hopper. So there's the hopper there, already tied. And then you get some of the red feathers, you get some of the flash, you get the 2 sizes of hooks, a few pieces of each. You get some floral fiber that you can use for dubbing. You got some deer hair, a little bit. You have some rubber legs, a set of rubber legs, or rubber leg material. You get thread for the color that you need, and then you get pre-cut foam body pieces that you can use, shorter ones and longer ones here. Actually, these are a little bit wider than these, so these are the bigger one. So anyway, so those are the pieces you get. I'm going to go ahead and get set up here for a large one, and this might be a little bit slower, but I'm going to... Andy, you're killing me. Okay, so there's a hook. There's a number 6. And with hook sizes, the higher the number, the smaller the hook. Okay, let me get these out of the way. Let me get all the individual pieces taken out, and get my thread and the bobber. Now there are other thread colors that I could be using if I wanted to. I do have some colors that would work for this fly, but just going with the whole idea of they supply you with all the things, I'm going to just use what they send me. So this is kind of a tan thread. So the way these work is you put the bobbin holder on, or the bobbin on the bobbin holder, and then you take the thread and you run it up the bottom. Once you get it started, you just suck it up into the straw. Okay, so my thread is ready. I can get out some foam body pieces here. I'll use the larger ones. Put the other ones away. And basically this is just one of each color. So this comes with a brown Comes with brown, orange, and yellow. And like I said before, I do have these colors, although it is not this type of foam. It is a craft foam, but the craft foam works fine. I think the idea behind this kind of foam is that it doesn't take on water, so it floats longer. But there's the 3 colors, orange, yellow, and brown. Another part of this is the red. That's actually the first thing that I tie on after I get my thread started. So let me get one of these little feathers out of here. Not the prettiest feather in the world, but it'll do. Yeah, it's one thing about some of this material. Some of these materials don't seem to be the best quality, but it'll get you a fly. So, all right, let me go ahead and get started with the thread here. Thank everybody that's popped on and watching. So you just start your thread. You always start these flies, or almost always, with just putting a base coat of thread on the hook, and all you do is turn it until with touching turns until the thread touches all the way down and covers the whole thing. And where did my scissors go? There's some. The big ones, the big scissors. They're not really that big, obviously. Okay, so first thing that you tie in on this fly is your feathers. So with these feathers, you pull these barbs to the side, and you get a bunch of them, and you just peel off of the shaft of the feather, and you have a tuft of feathers there. Go ahead and square these up a little bit. Those scissors are dull. All right, so sometimes when you tie on feathers, you have to start with a loose, kind of a loose loop, and then you can tighten it up a little bit. I do that to lock it, to keep it from twisting on me. I just realized something I forgot to do. So I'm going to take this and tie it off like I'm finishing it. That is called a whip finishing tool. I'll snip this off. For those of you that are watching, totally forgot to set up for tying these this foam together. And to do that, I need a large sewing needle. And I know from one of my videos that I did a while back that I've got a sewing kit in my stuff down here somewhere. Nope, that's not it. Good grief. Well, thank you for being patient, if you're watching. Oh, there's my power flipper. All kinds of junk going on with this thing. There we go. Hopefully there's a needle big enough to do this with here. I think this will work. Just be careful not to stick myself. All right. June's watching from a faraway land. I'm going to take this out of here for a second. All right. I'll put the needle in the vise here. Put the needle on the record. Put the needle on the record. All right. Hal Twitty. Haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Okay. So, get your phone. Get a couple of turns to start it. I'm going to stack my foam in the right order. This is going to be a long video, I fear. I apologize to those that are watching, but this is pretty interesting to me how these things work. So, I'm just going to wrap these together. Basically, you just do this and take several turns. Come on. There we go. I'm just tying a half hitch in there. Okay. I'm going to go down a little ways. Do the same thing again. All you're doing is making this segmented. And I'll come back and clean up this thread here in a second, but there's several turns. Do another. Make this half hitch a little bigger this time. Okay, go down a little ways more. Okay, now I'll turn this over. Use some fingernail polish and hit these threads so they won't come undone. And then I just slide this, cut off my bobbin with my dull scissors, cut off this extra thread. Ow! Well, there's where the needle comes into play. And then I just slide that off the needle. And there I have a segmented body. Dang, that hurt. Almost went under my cuticle. I'm glad I didn't do that. Okay. Put this in so I can get it later. Alright. So I'm just going to take my scissors here and probably didn't do this the best way. This is not a fly that I've practiced many times. In fact, this is actually the first time I've ever tied it. But I'll just clean up these threads where they stick out. And I can come back and hit this with some more nail polish later to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do. All right. Okay. So now I'll go back to my hook that I already started earlier. Have a little bit of that red in there. So I'm just going to restart. Get this thread started again. All right. A little bit further back. All right. Now I take my hopper, I take that tail portion, and I put it back here. And it's going to stick off the back of the fly, like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to go and do the same thing I was doing on the needle, but I'm going to do it on the hook. Get my turns. Okay. I'm going to turn this under and scoot over some. I want to make it so that these segments are about the same size. Come forward a little bit more. Come over the top. Okay, that is something I don't want to happen. So I'm going to have to put some glue underneath this thing so it doesn't flop around on me. Keep going down. Right about there. Come over the top one more time. Okay. Now, go ahead and get a half hitch on this just to secure it. That. Maybe a couple more. If I don't glue this down, it will not be a good fly because it's going to be turning around on the hook all the time. The foam will flop over and get in the way of the hook, and you won't get a hook set when you catch a fish. So I'm going to actually go over and grab actual super glue instead of just fingernail polish. And I'm going to turn this over, and I'm actually going to super glue this base because I want this to be good and solid. And I'm going to turn this a little bit so it gets in there. Okay. Right, this should do the trick on that. Now, just to make sure that I got my steps right, I'm going to go back here and look at my sample fly. Now I've got all these parts done so far. So one thing I need to do here is I can actually cut this off and restart my thread because I need to move back. I need to put it right here. Get several turns. Okay. I'm going to hit this up with a little bit more super glue here. This is that gel super glue, and it kind of, it's like using a hot glue gun. It just kind of leaves a stringer behind it. So, all right. Now, next step is going to be using some of this flash, and this is not a big package of flash. Get this out of here. Okay. All right. And not only is it not a big pack of it, but it's curled up so that it's not going to sit out straight. But let me get it the best I can. I'll use that stuff later, the one that I just cut. It doesn't take much of this stuff because all you need is the reflection. Okay. Go ahead and make these the same length. If nothing else, this is a good guide for knowing what to buy for certain flies. Because basically, I mean, I got this kit and it's really cool, but basically I have all the stuff that I need for this fly already, except for those rubber legs. And I have some different rubber legs that I like to use. So, next step is the deer hair. They give us this little pack of winter deer hair. I'm going to take this little tuft off of here. It doesn't take much of this either. Sorry, I bumped my camera. Settle down a little So this deer hair always has some under hairs in it, little fuzzy hairs. So if I take this, snip this off here, that, and then I can get those under hairs out. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my deer hair stacker, just hiding back here. In the hair stacker, you put the hairs in with the points going in to the bottom. Tap it a few times, and then when you pull this out, the hairs should all be aligned on the tips. Did an okay job. A couple of wild ones in there. These are all very curled, so it kind of is throwing things off a little bit. But I'm going to make that the same length. Same length as those pieces of flash I put in. I'm going to hold those down so I can get in here and trim this up. Okay. Sorry, the next thing is I'll go ahead and do the legs. So these legs come in a big chunk, and then you take a chunk and you split off the amount you need. You split it off in twos. Then go ahead and get my two sets one for both sides. Then you take this and you put a knot in it. Like that. Tie them in a pair. You see there's two strands there stuck together still, and you just tie them together. My beagle is snoring next to me, if you can hear it. It's not very distracting at all. Okay, so there. So now I have two legs. I'm just going to come in here, tie it pretty close so it has that look of legs sticking out. Tie it right in next to this other stuff that I tied in. 2 or 3 turns. I'm going to make this one equal to that, right next to it. Right there. Same exact thing. Just tie it in on the other side. 2 or 3 turns. Okay. Now, I got 2 more steps to do here. I'm going to take this and fold it back right here. That leg is not wanting to stay tied. There. Okay, so the eye of my hook is there. I'm going to make this so that it's just behind the eye of the hook, right here. A few more turns on that. Go ahead and trim this piece. You just trim this to a V, or not a V, but a point at the top, or you can cut it off square, whatever you like. It just happens to be the way that I like that. Then I'm going to take this piece and cut it off right in front of the eye. And those pieces I just cut off will actually be good for later. In fact, I might change this up a little bit. So they give us this fluoro fiber that can be used as a dubbing material, and you're supposed to put a big chunk of it up here. I think I'm going to change that. And that's a beautiful thing about tying your own flies, is you can change things. So I'm going to take this piece right here. All this is for visibility when you're fishing it. So I'm just going to take this chunk right here and go over the top, right where I tied in those legs. I'm going to tie that in on top of that head with a few turns. Okay, and then I'm going to take this large, careful half hitch. Tie that off right there. Okay, then I'm just going to turn this over with that one turn. I'm going to get my super glue one more time. I'm going to go in here right where I was tying all those turns and put a dab of super glue. That will secure those threads. Woo! That will secure those threads so they don't come undone. Okay, now the only other thing I feel like I need to do after I cut this thread off is to cut these legs to length on both sides, about the same length. Oh. Okay, and I can actually separate these pieces. No, I'll leave them that way. I'm going to take this tail. I'm just going to round it a little bit. Just take off those corners. There. And that's it. So I have tied my version of the Postfly hopper that was gifted to me. Now, one thing I do find interesting is that they give the kit has actually different legs in it. The legs for this one are yellow. The legs that they give you are orange. But basically it's the same deal. So they also cut their head into a wedge on the front. And I cut mine square. So for me, the square edge, whenever you put it in the water and it's sitting there and it's kind of shaking a little bit, if you pull that, that is going to hit the water and it's going to make it splash. And it'll work like a popper, if you're bass fishing. So that is my version of, and then here's the packaging label: Postfly Sandwich Hopper Fly Tying Kit. And that is my version of the number 6 size fly. You see the tuft of material right there on top, the fuzzy one instead of this rigid one. So either way could work, and I'll probably tie the next one that way just so I do it legit to the way that the picture is. But anyway, there is the hopper, and hope you enjoyed watching. So a shout out to Esther at Home Depot. She was my Secret Santa, and she's the one that got me that hopper tying kit. And so I wanted to get on here as soon as I could. I think I'm going to have to put some super glue on that leg to make sure it stays tied. But those of y'all that popped on and watched the video, thank you so much. I do these videos fairly often as of the last couple of months. And I have videos on YouTube. They're usually these videos that I've copied to the YouTube platform. QuietMan28 is my webpage, or my YouTube page where my videos are. And I've got, I think this is number 36 or 37 maybe. I'm almost up to 40 now, different flies that I've tied. So, but this was a good opportunity to try out, first of all, Postfly, which is it's actually something you can subscribe to. And I have not done that, but you can subscribe, and every month they send you, I think that's the way it works. They send you fly tying materials or flies to try out. And then, so that was cool. Opportunity to try to tie a fly I've never tied before. I don't typically tie my hoppers this big, so that's interesting that it's this big when it's finished. Usually the hoppers, and I've got a couple of videos of hoppers, my hoppers that I tie are probably half that size when they're finished. In fact, let's see. There's one right here. This is, turn this back around. This is actually, so that's the fly I just tied, and there's the size flies I usually tie as far as the hoppers go. So it's pretty similar, but you see the hook size compared to the fly is much different. You see the hook there only takes up half the body, and here it takes up almost the whole body. So anyway, again, like I said, just a good opportunity to try out a product that I've never tried before, and tie a fly that I've never tied, with a lot of steps and kind of a long video. So thank you for sticking around and watching. Check out my YouTube videos. Some are longer, some are shorter, and they probably get longer because I keep talking about how long they are. Thanks so much. Have a good evening, and gig 'em.